guys, so I decided to start a YouTube channel. Basically, for those of you who don't know me, which is probably most of you, I'm Danny. I have a travel blog over at travelingjezebel.com, and as the name would suggest, I usually write about travel, solo travel, budget travel, things like that. But there are a lot of other things that I am passionate about, things that I like to talk about, and honestly I just really like hearing the sound of my own voice. So I thought I would start my own YouTube channel. I actually used to have one a couple of years ago that's still up somewhere, about like BDSM and educating people about BDSM, and it had like 5,000 subscribers. But then the whole thing got demonetized because of the subject matter, obviously. But I did used to really enjoy it, so I thought I would start a new one talking about all the things that I see in the news that bother me. So yeah, but there has been a tragedy in Poland. Basically, on Sunday night there was, and I'm gonna read out this, a great orchestra of Christmas charity, which was basically a fundraising event in Poland to raise money for medical equipment in hospitals. And the mayor of Gdansk, who is called Pawel Adamowicz, I really hope that I pronounced that right, he was at this orchestra donating his time, and a 27-year-old assailant ran up on stage. He'd got past security with a media badge and he stabbed Pawel in the heart, in the abdomen, and then the next day Pawel unfortunately died. Now, this has obviously made headlines, but my kind of feeling is that most people from where I'm from in the UK, most people will see these headlines, you know, Polish mayor stabbed to death, and they'll just see it and they'll think, oh, okay, you know, this stuff happens, this is a crazy person, because that's kind of the rhetoric that's been going around. This guy has mental problems, he's previously robbed banks, and apparently the reason that he stabbed Pawel was because he had a grievance with his political party. That's certainly what he's saying anyway. I actually see this as something a lot bigger than just that. I don't see it as just a personal grievance, and I might be wrong. You know, I just want to clarify, I'm not Polish, I don't live in Poland, but I have spent enough time there over the last few years to have somewhat of an understanding about the country, about the politics of Poland, about the unrest. So I just wanted to share my opinions about this with you. This is going to be a bit all over the place because I've literally not even planned it, never mind scripted it. So, the reason that I think that this is about more than just a personal grudge against this party is that Pawel and the parties that he's been affiliated with, his policies, okay, so over the years he has stood up for LGBT rights, which if you're not familiar with Poland, that's a big deal. You know, Poland is not very progressive when it comes to LGBT rights, when it comes to reproductive rights, immigration, that kind of thing. In fact, the current political party is very anti-immigration, very anti-abortion, which I'll touch on just a bit later. And so this guy, Pawel Adamowicz, was very, very progressive. He hadn't always been, as people have pointed out. There was a time when he refused to approve this LGBT parade or march or something. But then the following year, he went back and he approved it. And he said, do you know what? I've looked into it, I've done the research, and I've realised that I was wrong and I was ignorant. And honestly, I think that all politicians could learn something from that. It's not very often that a politician will hold their hands up and say, look, you know what? I was a bigot and I was wrong and I apologise. So that's the kind of guy that he was. And I think that that is possibly a problem for certain Polish people. It's kind of an open secret in Poland that there is a growing number of Polish nationalists, I'll call them, very kind of far right. I don't know if you would call them alt-right, I don't know, but violent people who are very, very, very hateful. For example, just to give you a real life idea of what this means, I was going to go to the parade on Polish Independence Day a couple of years ago, and I was told, don't go because these groups like to come out on Independence Day and do their own protests, and if they hear you speaking in English, you're probably going to get beat up. And this is just me, like a young chick, maybe walking down the street speaking English on this day. It's a small but very vocal minority in Poland that is very hateful and nationalist and not good. And this is why I see the murder of Pawel as a symptom of a much greater sickness. Because now this isn't just about protests on Independence Day. This isn't just about, you know, saying that you don't want refugees in Poland. This isn't just about saying that it's a sin to be gay. A man has died. You know, a man who stood up for liberal values, who stood up for progression, who stood up for free speech. This guy has died, and he really, it doesn't matter what marginalised community it was, he stood up for it. When there were attacks on some synagogues, he stood up for the Jewish community, you know, and therefore I think it's very, very worrying. And but on the bright side, if there can be a bright side, I really do have faith in Polish people, especially young Polish people. So last year, the current government wanted to pass a bill that would restrict abortion. Now, abortion in Poland is already very, very, very restricted. It's among the strictest in Europe. Basically, the current law says that abortion is illegal unless the woman is raped or a victim of incest, unless the child is going to be born with deformities, or unless the mum is going to die in childbirth, basically. And the government wanted to pass a bill that would just create a blanket ban on all abortion, even in those cases, which is absolutely horrific, in my opinion. But thousands and thousands of people, men and women, students, young people, old people, took to the streets in protest of this law. You know, they wanted reproductive rights for women. And I think that that is absolutely incredible. It shows that, you know, not all young people in Poland are these nationalists. In actual fact, it is a minority. It's a tiny minority. And when the masses really care about something, they will come together and they will stand up for what is right. So I'm really, really hoping that this is what happens now in response to Pawel's murder. And I'm hoping that this kind of triggers something in the population to maybe say, you know what, no, this is toxic. Maybe that's going to manifest in not re-electing the current government, who maybe it's going to manifest in some other way. But I really, really hope that this horrific incident can be maybe a wake-up call and the start of better times for Poland and for Polish people. That concludes my first video. I know it's been a rambling mess. I am not a natural for YouTube. This is why I write 4,000 word blog articles, because I don't know when to shut up. But yeah, I enjoyed making this video as much as you can enjoy talking about a murdered guy. Oh my god, I'm the worst. So please just let me know if you liked it, subscribe and all that stuff. I cannot say that without feeling so cringe. And yeah, I look forward to kind of creating more content, because this is a medium that I think is totally different to blogging. You know, I will always be a writer, but unfortunately there are not enough hours in the day for me to rant about everything that I want to rant about if I'm going to type it all up. It's much easier if I do this. So yeah, bye bye.